Brave hits and extra actions. Gullveig is here and she's brought her friends. We have a lot to go over, so let's start with Shez. And her Refine just came out, and I think we all know what this means about how that's going to go. But we have Shez. Okay, Dagger, Blue, Infantry. Covert Duality. Okay. This is a very Shez weapon, and what you're going to find is this is just the upgrade version of what she had. So we have Slang, we have Player Phase Brave, and Dagger 7. At start of phase, after Kanto or action, inflicts speed, defense -7, sabotage, and exposure on closest foes and those foes within 2 spaces. At start of combat, if unit initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, you get a max 14 bonus, dull all, true damage of X times 5, flat DR of X times 5, and X it maxed out at 5. So that's 25 true damage and 15 flat DR. That's pretty standard. Honestly, there's nothing really to write home about. The start of phase and after Kanto or action is nice because essentially you get a mid-turn thing there. If you were to dance this unit, they'd be able to go again. But yeah, that is mid-turn debuffs are always superior. Past that, we have Comet, which is the perfect special for her because we're about to see effective damage just go off. You're really playing into that. Moving on. We have Rapid Slice, and you notice it's just standard now. We have 3 pages for each one of these. Rapid Slice. Start a phase. If within 2 spaces of an ally, to self and allies within 2, you get Piercing, 50% piercing, and Hexblade, which I'm not a huge fan of Hexblade right now, but it's interesting. So start of combat, if unit initiates or is within 2 of an ally, you get Omni +9, DR of 40%, and that's pierceable, flat DR of 7, and null follow-up. At start of combat, and this is the crazy thing where if they're infantry, non-dragon, or beast, then you have to have over 20 of their speed to have effective damage, and if they're not, you have to have +5. For the non-infantry units, this is going to be easy to hit. You're just going to assume that it always goes off. This is really designed to be an armor breaker type unit, so you're going to want to be able to get Comet off, get tons of effective damage, and go from there. We're going to move on because we're going to talk more about that when we get into the damage analysis. We have Full Disarm, which is okay. I'd really prefer Potent here. I like the extra hit, and I think she's going to want that. And then you have Lookout Smog, which is a new version of this, and this adds in flat DR, which is nice. And then we've seen this, so as well as Guard. I do like the movement capabilities of this, and I think these are very fun units to play with. The question is, how does this unit do kit-wise? And I think we need to just jump right into it because this is a damage dealer unit. There's not a whole lot of strategy to talk about this. You want to get effective damage. You want to get a lot of it, which effective damage is boosted damage. For flat DR, this unit has 22, which is very, very low. For true damage, you have 35, which is semi-low. And then for boosted damage, it just goes through the roof as long as you're procking Comet. This is something that is tough to calculate because it depends so much on what the enemy has. And so it's not something I can put numbers to right here, but rest assured it will be incredibly high if you get Comet off. Just understand that the problems with boosted damage are still there. And so, they're affected by weapon triangle advantage. And if you have a negative stack up of your attack versus their defense, all of that plays into that, where true damage is a little bit easier and cleaner to get off. That's not to say this unit isn't going to put out a lot of damage, though, especially on brave hits. Will it be enough, though? We talked about that. The big thing you always want to look for is high true damage and high boosted damage at this point. I'm on the fence with this. Those are some good effective stats, and we see that kind of play out and everything. If we look at the tier list, I'm not huge on this unit because they just do damage, and we're in this we're in this crazy spot where, I mean, we have Veronica, who is a very good nuke, but Feud is so amazing on the opponent that it boosts her attack and the attack of all of those around her. Gullveig is just an amazing damage dealer, and then you have Crom, who is an amazing damage dealer and an amazing support. Like, this is, it's possible that I should have put her over Lyn, but Lyn is so unique, and Shez is a damage dealer who doesn't offer just a ton of support to the rest of her team. So that's kind of where I'm at. For those of you who complain, I mean, I actually have 3 Shezes on this page, which is kind of fun. But understand there are tier gaps involved here. But tier gap between 2 and 3 is pretty big, and tier gap between 3 and 4 is pretty large. So understand that we do go down to tier 4, but those are ranked lower than the other units. But we need to get to Yunaka. So Yunaka is a red infantry bow, and you're going to find a lot of similarities between what these units do. Now, I will say it is a little bit more impressive that she's going up against Eikthenir. That is, it's a better matchup to see, but we've talked about it. You always want to look at, this is what is intended for the unit, and both of these units are intended to be armor breakers. It's what IS is trying to tell you with the matchups. So, Bow of Stealth, we have Slaying, effective against flying, and dual phase brave, as opposed to Shez, who just had player phase. At start of player phase and after unit acts or after Canto on closest foes and splashed within 2, you get Discord, Speed Shackle, and Defense Shackle. I didn't mention this with Shez, but one of the things you can do with these kinds of units is put Micaiah Ring on there, and so you have that swap there, and so they still get to attack after that. Back to this. Start of combat. If unit initiates or HP is greater than or equal to 25%, you get an Omni plus 15. You get true damage of, okay, so this is X max of 5, so true damage at max of 25, flat DR of 15, and full tempo. So, very, very familiar in combat debuffs. I actually prefer the combat debuffs on Shez, but if you're trying to stack up number of debuffs, then this does better, obviously. Past that, we have Arch Rival, which is, I mean, it's one of the best specials in the game. It's very good. And then we have Ninja Zap, and here's where all the magic happens. So we have Pass. We've already talked about it. This is one of the best things to have on a nuke right now. Like, you want true damage, you want mobility, and they have them here. We have the whole triangle advantage, and they get disadvantage if they're colorless. I just don't know if I care right now. I don't know that there are enough colorless units that really makes a difference. But keep in mind, this unit is red, so then you get dual effectiveness. You get against blue and colorless, so that part's okay. Start a phase to self and allies within 2. You get special charge +1 and dodge. Why are they putting dodge? Because it gives resistance to AoEs. Honestly, that's the main reason. I've racked my brain on this and I can't think of another one because it is pierceable. We don't have a lot of units that fully pierce, that is true, but I think the main thing is trying to get resistance against AoEs. So that the intention here might be a hit and sit unit, but I don't think she has enough bulk for that. We'll go over that more in a second. We have... So this is the whole being able to move within 2 spaces of an ally, and you have a bunch of restrictions that are very complicated but aren't really restrictions. So essentially, you're going to be able to move within 2 spaces of an ally. That's what we're at. Now, keep in mind that isn't infinite. That is with allies within 2 spaces, you'll be able to move within 2. So it's not quite as crazy as it sounds, but it is. I mean, I have The mobility is pretty amazing. I'm not gonna lie. And this is all baked in. Start of combat, you get an Omni +9, a true damage of 15. We would have liked that to be higher. Flat DR of 15 as well. Both of those are conditional. And then DR piercing, which is nice. So again, this is an upgrade to the old Yunaka, and I'm a very big Yunaka fan, so I think this is very nice. I think the key places you're going to want to think about this unit are Aether Raid's defense, and I mean, that's the big one right there. I think this is going to be an Aether Raid's defense unit. Okay, let's move on, because she does have a few more things, although they're a little less interesting. SD lull finish. I mean, I said they aren't interesting. I actually like this skill a lot. I think this is excellent. Yeah. Odd speed wave 4 is weird. I don't quite understand this. I think they're saying that they want this unit to have no follow-up, but this is like, everything on this is so updated and, you know, whiz bang, and then you have odd speed wave. So you're likely replacing that, but I really want to get into the damage analysis and not harp on that too badly. So,
But I'm begging you.
this is another one. So we have high true damage on this one instead. We do have a lot more flat DR. We talked about wanting to make this unit hit and sit. Now, that is a possibility for what they're trying to go for. The problem is you can't put close counter on this unit because the A skill's used up. Maybe that means a seal is coming along, although we've been waiting for that for years. True damage of 49 is actually nice. It's usable. The boosted damage of 59 is unfortunate, and that goes up if the unit has weapon triangle disadvantage. So keep that in mind. So versus blue and colorless units, that is going to increase. But overall, I mean, this unit is decently bulky. Attack of 85, speed of 84, defense 61, res of 62, and that's with the current hit. These are effective stats. It's not bad, but it's not really enough for me to rank her a lot higher. It's the same thing I'm having trouble with. You do have additional mobility, and I like the mobility, but I'm putting this unit at the top of tier 2, and that's really the best I can give her. I don't think she belongs any higher than that. I could be wrong. Keep in mind, once we get units into action, we find out a lot of things. So that is something that happens. But as of right this second, I think that's where she's going to be sitting, is in that tier 2 region. And we've already talked about the other units here. Let's move on to Hrid. This is going to sound crazy, but this is the most unexpected unit of the entire batch. I'm surprised, and I am interested in what this unit can do. Let's look at it. So we have Glacial Great Axe. This is dual phase brave. At start of turn, foes within 3/3. At start of 5, you get inflicting and Omni -5 on foes. You get null bonuses, and then you get piercing. Start of combat, if HP is greater than or equal to 25%, you get an Omni +9, a true damage max of 25, a flat DR max of 15, guard, follow-up denial, and you get 7 HP worth of healing. Okay, that's not bad. You would be excused if you saw that and were a little bit... The thing you want to look at is the next piece here. And first off, we have Ignis and Shatterproof, which is the attack defense version of the Crystal and Water and Verge of Death we've been seeing. I've actually been waiting for this. No kidding, I like these skills, and I like that it is now available on someone, and I will be suggesting this in several different Hall of Forms builds. Should you go out to summon for it? No. It's not good enough for that. Glacial Seal is next, and I wish to God this would have been in the weapon, because it would have opened up a lot more opportunities for this unit. But let's get into it. So what we have here is Kento, start of phase, enemy phase or player phase. On closest foes, splashed 2 spaces, inflicts attack defense -7, frozen, and defense shackle. Frozen is so underrated, especially as Omni tanks start creeping back into the meta. So this is interesting, and an interesting support. Start of enemy phase, if no Divine Vein Ice is active, applies Divine Vein Ice. 2 spaces from nearest foe with lowest defense turn 1. So this is projected ice, which is interesting. The unit with the lowest defense is generally going to be the nuke. And so that's important. That's the unit that you want this on. And it's really interesting. So start of combat inflicts attack defense -5 on foe, guaranteed follow-up, true damage of 20%, and flat DR of 20% of defense. Now, I don't have damage analysis on this. This actually take a bit of time, and I don't have time for this. This is going to be more of a support unit, and I think this is going to be a support unit in Aether Raids in particular. I have thought about it. I don't think this is an Aether Raids defense unit. I think this is actually an Aether Raids offense unit, and it's trying to keep units from attacking into you. The problem is the most prolific attacker right now has pass in Camilla, and we have 2 other units that have pass here, and we have more of those, so they can just jump right over the ice. I love the effort here, IS. I appreciate it. This is not a unit you should probably go out and summon for unless you're a Hrid fan, and I'll be honest, if you're a Hrid fan, I think you can find a place for this unit, but we need to look at the headliner. This is interesting, and this is Gullveig and Kavasir. It's the second time we've had this whole shenanigan thing coming on, and this is her second duo, just flat out her duo. She's going up against Larry, and I'll spoil it for you, she doesn't defeat him in one hit. It doesn't give me a warm fuzzy, especially being that's base kit, but we'll go over the damage analysis and talk about that. Let's talk about Scrolls of Time first. So this is player phase Brave. It's pass, but only if you entered combat, and that is tough. Like that is not fantastic. I mean, the biggest time you want pass is that first hit, but we'll go over why they have that. At start to phase, to self and allies within 2, Times Gate, Preempt Pulse, and Anathema. It's interesting, and it's a push to make this unit more viable in Aether Raid's defense. And also, I would be really good in Arena. Honest to God, we kind of gloss over that. All of these duos are generally very good in Arena. This unit is going to make Arena easy mode if you have them merged up. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. Start of combat, you get a bonus of 14. You get true damage, max of 25. Flat DR, max of 15. After combat, if unit initiates, grants 1 extra action and restricts movement to 1 space. And then it has a cooldown of 2 turns. We've seen this before. The reason this matters less is because now once you have that done, you have Times Gate available, which is the weird warping, and you can use that to get around. Or, alternately, you can just have Celica Ring, and you can get around that way. But you have to get that first combat off, and this unit is the one that has to attack. We'll talk about the damage in just a second, but let's move on. So, Future and Past. This is her special. Boost damage by 80% of speed, which is not bad at all. Neutralizes special cooldown charge -X. Start of combat, if you initiates, you get a DR, and this is unpierceable DR. This is important. Max of 60. This unit is going to be sneakily bulky, to be honest. After combat, if you initiates and special triggered, you get grants an extra action and restricts movement to 1 space, which we've already talked about. Doesn't really matter. So that's where we're at. Let's look at the rest of the kit though, because there is more to look at. Move on to Slice with Sparrow. We love it. Attack Assault. Attack Speed Assault Hone. We love it. Conjuring Breath. I'm just going to summarize what this does. This is burn damage. It looks like it has Fatal Smoke 3 baked in, and there are a lot of questions there. This is something we'll have to test because the wording is a little bit weird, but it looks like it blocks healing, which is interesting. And then past that, we also have a breath effect or a special acceleration. It's an excellent B skill. It's very, very good. So be on the lookout for that, especially for Tome anything, but Tome Cavs specifically. This is just huge. We've talked about a lack of good B skills, and I think this helps that just a ton. I forgot, it does true damage. So that's the important part, right? So it does true damage, and then it does all of that other stuff on top of it, which can be very, very handy. Specifically, if you're looking for the perfect thing on an AoE user, this is it. This is amazing for that. And again, you'll be seeing this a lot in the Hall of Forms builds I have, because AoEs have been making a comeback. It's one of those things you wish you could summon 2 Gullveigs, one to keep and one to fodder, but orbs are tight right now. We need to look at the damage analysis, because this is where I would have liked for things to go a little higher than they are. So we have flat DR of 22, a true damage of 50, a boosted damage of 51, and I'll be completely honest with you, I think that's low. I'm looking at the skills, and I think that should be a bit higher. Especially looking at the effective speed. I'll go back and check that, and I'll post in the comments if I got that wrong, but I do think that should be just a tad higher. Probably boosted into the Eikthenir range, but this is very decent, and you do get brave attacks. The thing that you're going to be relying on, though, is getting 4 attacks, and the most prolific Far Savior right now stops. It disables combat priority, so if Black Knight is there and stopping you from making your attacks, then you've got a problem. So I think this unit is going to have the same weight that Summer Gullveig actually had. And to certain folks who loved Gale Force, Summer Gullveig was hugely influential, but for the large part of the populace, not so much. So this is a very fun unit. I think if you're a Gullveig fan, I think you're going to be very, very happy. So just keep that in mind. But I don't think this is an earth-shattering unit, which again is not bad. I think this is a solid unit and excellent. I didn't go over the dual skill, but it restores 40 HP and it grants an extra action. The extra action is what every single duo unit on Ninja Banner has always gotten. Again, though, if we are talking about in the context of Arena, this is an amazing unit. Absolutely phenomenal. So if that's what you're summoning for, I think you're happy. If you are summoning for her for Aetherraid's offense, I think you are happy but cautious. You're going to have to be able to survive brave hits, and I don't know that she has the bulk for that. So that is tough, unless you have some sort of miracle effect around her somewhere, possibly Emir. But anyway, there's a lot of caveats there, as you can tell. But I like the unit. I'll make this real quick. These weren't supposed to release until next week, but I got so flipping excited. This is the Shadows hoodie, the Fire Emblem Shadows hoodie, and they look phenomenal. I cannot believe the stitch work on that. I'm wearing it right now, and that's all. Go check those out. Let's get back to the tier list. So one of the difficulties with ranking a unit like Gullveig is she does have a lot to her. If you are a Gale Force nut, I think this goes higher. But understand that actions are not as expensive as they used to be. I mean, just flatly. It is easier than ever to get actions right now. So I can't push this unit up as high as she once would have been. 4 actions, I believe, is what she gets max. And that is, we're not at a point where that's impressive anymore. Just crazy, absolutely crazy. But that's kind of where we're at. If you want actions, all you have to have is Sharena, and they just magically appear. So it's still, though, I understand. Like, I'm caveating all this. Tier 1 is very good for ranged nukes. Like that is very, very good company. But it is hard to compare these 3 units, and it's one of the difficulties with these kind of tier lists right now is we have so much roll compression that I'm comparing an Aetherraid's offense unit to a Summoner Duels unit to an Aetherraid's defense unit, and they serve 3 very, very different purposes. So depending on your priorities, those could be switched around. I do not see her ever surpassing a unit like Chrom. Chrom is universally good, just everywhere you want to use him. He's really, really fantastic. But tier 1 is good. I love these Gale Force units. I hope she pity breaks me because I really am low on orbs right now. I've got a link to more of my content right here. Go check that Fire Emblem Shadows hoodie out. Members, you are amazing. Thank you for all you do. Take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.